Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Boxing Authorities. Joining me, as always, Luther Dupree Jr., Smoking Jim Frazier, and my name is Claudio Relsano. Well, the first topic today is we're going to cover a fight, a pretty important fight, Joe Joyce against Carlos Takam. I think the result went, I think, almost the way Luther predicted. I think you said a late eighth round stoppage.
Right.
It was a 6th round stoppage, very controversial stoppage, which I know Jim wasn't happy about, cutting it short that quick. But it wasn't as easy as people thought it might be. Luther, your thoughts on the fight first.
Again, here we go. A guy gets a 6-round KO, and you guys are saying it's not good enough. 6th round. Carlos Takam, he's a veteran. He's not just going to disappear out of there. He was there to fight, and he brought the fight to Joe Joyce. He couldn't hurt Joe Joyce. He was landing more than I thought, but Joe Joyce, the juggernaut, that jab is going to give everybody in the heavyweight division a problem. He's big. He's strong. He can take a punch. Come on, Claudio, give him his respect.
The only thing I'll say about this, let me ask you, the audience, something, and I'll ask Jim this too. Jim's a football expert, obviously. If Clemson is playing a D2 football team, right, what should the score be?
It should, by halftime, it should be 60-something.
It should be over. You guys both, Luther, you said
so you're comparing him to Clemson? He's that good?
No.
Oh, well,
I'm
that's
saying,
what you said. You made a comparison.
Well, here's my comparison. Joe Joyce was supposed to blow through him. You said
He
that
did.
Takam was a journeyman.
A 6-round stoppage is
My
not
point
good enough
but
for
he
you.
struggled. He struggled.
Did he get hurt?
No, but he was
Did he
losing
get
the fight. Takam was ahead on all the cards.
No,
My point is this:
TKO'd the
he
guy.
should have blown him out of the water.
He did.
When he is as everybody says he's going to be the next. He's the next guy. He's the next guy. He should have blew Takam out of the water. He struggled with him. Jim, your thoughts on the fight?
How did he struggle? That's what I'm
He was
asking.
He was losing the fight.
Did he get hurt?
No, but he was
set
losing
up
the
his
fight.
jab
You don't have
and he
to
knocked him
lose.
out.
Boxing, it's about points too, not just
Boxing
not
is about getting the W. He got
Oh,
the
yeah.
W.
He got the
6th
win.
round, he got
Yes.
that guy out of there. Did
My
exactly
point is,
what he
and
needed to
we're going
do.
to get into that on the next
Claudio.
segment about Joe Joyce. He should have blown him away. He should not be
Why
struggling
should
against
he?
him.
He was not
because this is where he's at in
struggling.
his career. He was losing.
He was controlling the fight with his jab. He got hit with a few. Again,
But he was-
it's this
he was-
whole
he was
his whole
behind the
effect.
cards.
Unless you go out there like
Against a
Mike
journeyman.
Tyson and knock
Oh,
this
no.
guy out.
He should
This
have
guy is a
dominated
veteran. He's got in there with the AJs, with everybody. He
got
doesn't-
blown away.
He didn't get blown away. He fought in every
Takam?
fight. He got caught. He got
I'm talking
caught.
about Takam.
A lot of his fights, Carlos Takam is in those fights. He tries to do too much and gets caught.
I would
Just
have
like he
liked to
did in this
see
one.
a better performance from Joe Joyce. Jim?
Well, I'm sure when Joe Joyce was growing up, he had a big poster of his idol, Herman Monster.
Right, exactly.
Hey, listen, only thing I really liked about Joe was he kept his hands up, which was good. He let a little man back him up. You know what I mean? He did. I thought Joyce did throw one good body shot. The referee thought it was low. I didn't think it was low.
Not getting hood.
He got hit.
He got hit at will.
He has a chin.
And I tell you what, I thought he had a chance of punching himself out in the 6th round.
Who?
The referee didn't stop the fight.
The hate on Joe Joyce is real with you guys.
I just think that we expect more out of him as quickly as he's climbing. There's a guy here.
He's getting backed up by a guy that's not even trying to back him up.
I don't.
Excellent point.
He's getting backed up. I don't see that.
Good point, Jim.
I see Joe Joyce stepping to him, controlling with the jab again.
That
Controlling
jab
with
is
the
slow.
jab.
That
Well,
jab
sure.
is
He's
slow.
not. We already said
He
he's
can
not
hit.
fast.
Highlights.
We already
He
said.
can hit.
We already said he's not fast.
It's your highlights.
I'm just saying he's not backing up. It's a slow jab, but it's slow and powerful.
He's not backing
Jim,
up.
would you like
He's
to
not-
see him use a little more weight shift on his punches?
Yes, definitely. I mean, he got a lot to learn, and he's an older guy.
He's
so
in his
and
30s.
he, and
35.
he getting hit clean with clean shots.
Now, the one thing that I did like, that when the 6th round started, he opened up right away and he went after him. He caught him, and that's how he won
He
the
set
fight.
him up exactly.
I don't know if he set him up,
He
but I
set
think his
him
corner
up.
said, "Hey, go after him now," and he did.
I
And
think
that
he was as surprised as anybody that he hurt the guy.
yeah. And-
Listen. What we can't do, we're not going to disgrace this guy who just beat he beat Dubois.
You don't see anything
Okay,
wrong
that
with
was
just
a-
beat
that was a
Carlos
big-
Takam.
Is he a perfect
He's done
fighter?
it.
Is he a perfect
Is there a
fighter?
perfect fighter
No,
in
I'm
the
just
heavyweight
asking.
division right now?
Because
No, there's not.
You haven't shown
every,
any criticism.
every single one of them.
Give me
every
a
single one of
little.
them.
Give me a little criticism on him.
Listen,
Critique him a bit.
I said I didn't like the way he was getting hit by this Tacom guy.
When'd you say that? On the way here?
Listen, I like his jab. I like his chin. He's strong. He's powerful. Hey, I'm ready to see him against those top guys.
which we're going to get to in the next segment.
I'm ready
but
to see it.
again,
Here it is.
that was ridiculous. That was. Now I know Jim. I thought of Jim because I know.
But you like when Tyson Fury was unconscious.
Oh, he was
and
pounding
the referee
Fury, though.
screamed,
He was
and the
pounding
referee
Wilder,
screamed
though.
in his ear to wake him up.
He
Right?
was, that's a different ball.
Good
game.
stoppage.
Jim, what do you think about
Good
that stoppage?
There's no fighter in the history of this planet, if I was refereeing, would complain that it was an early stoppage.
Yeah, there'd be a couple.
There's
Flower
no
bringing
such
if
thing
Jim was
as
a
that.
referee.
If you're
Nothing but flower
complaining,
bringing if Jim was a referee.
no way
But
you'll
that
be
was ridiculous.
complaining
So
with me as
that
a referee.
last that stoppage that early.
It was 30 punches in a row with
No,
no
you
response.
make it sound like it was
It
Holyfield
might have
and
been, it might have
Foreman.
been 40 punches. He was holding on for dear
And
life.
he pushed the referee. He still had something. He was
Yeah.
setting him up.
Yeah.
Like you said.
Yeah.
You said
30.
that,
Listen,
Joyce was set him
if
up.
you're covered up
Like
and
Jim
get hit
said,
with
though,
clean shots 30 times in a
Jim
row.
said he thought what? He was going to punch himself out.
Yeah,
Talk
yeah.
him. He got
He
caught early. I'm
still
not
did
saying
a
he
flip
didn't.
at the end of the fight. Come on, he had.
Did he?
Yes, he does it at every fight.
He's gonna
Joe
flip all
Joyce
right.
did a flip.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
But listen, he's a solid heavyweight
He's solid.
fighter.
Okay.
You know,
All right.
and that jab is going to give every single fighter
You make
in
it sound like
heavyweight.
it's a Buster Douglas, Larry Holmes jab.
Oh, that
Sonny
jab is
Liston.
slow. It's real slow,
It's a
but it's
telephone pole.
powerful.
It's a telephone
Well,
pole.
if he's doing flips like that, there's an opening on the U.S. team.
Stop.
That was good. That was
Greatest
good,
of all
Jim.
time. Don't talk about
That was good.
Don't talk about the
Jim
greatest
comes
of all
up with a
time.
lot of good ones, but that may want to be one of his best.
That was a garbage one.
But now again, with a journeyman who was scheduled or set, I don't want to say set up. The fight was made so Joyce could blow him out of the water.
To get a TKO like he
And
did?
he-
Okay.
Yeah, but he struggled in getting so.
He got a TKO
I know he won
in the sixth
but
round.
it was
That's
I
all
don't
I
want
want
to
to
say
hear.
it was an ugly win, but Takum was winning the fight. I'm saying
Did he win the
for
fight,
Joy-
Claudio? Yes or no? He got the
Oh,
referee
let
had
me
to
ask you a
save
question.
him.
Let me ask you a question. I know you're a big football fan as well. Steelers, let's say they're down 30 by halftime and they come back and they win 32-30. What are you going to say? They won, but they
You act like
by
he
the
was
skin of their
getting
teeth.
blown out.
He was
That
losing.
not- he was not.
He was losing.
He was not losing that fight.
He was losing the
He
fight
was winning 3-2.
against the guy who he
was winning 3-2.
Let me
That
ask you
guy
this,
might
though.
have won 2 rounds,
Jim, let me
Claudio.
ask you this: at the beginning of camp, they didn't say this to Joyce because they didn't want to pump him up too much. They were probably saying to each other, "We're going to blow this guy out of the water."
exactly.
Do you think? Let me ask you this: do you think they were disappointed, not in the results, but in the way to get to the results, the actual bout itself?
Well, that's his corner with Stevie Wonder. They had to be disappointed.
Listen. At some point, you will have to give these fighters. Carlos Takam is a guy who's been in there.
You
with
called
the
him a
AJs.
journeyman last time.
Okay, but he's been in there. He's experienced. He's never going to just lay down
No.
and die.
No.
He's going to go in there on his shield. That's why he was upset with the referee. He wanted to get knocked out like he did against AJ, like he
to get
did
knocked
against
out.
Derek Chisora.
I think
he wanted to go out on his
knocked
back.
out. I think he
didn't
felt
want
he
to get
was
out.
winning. He was winning the fight.
He was
and he
not
wanted the
winning the fight.
opportunity
He was
to
down
win
at
the
least
fight
3 rounds to
because
2.
no, he was
Stop
winning.
it, Claudio.
Because
no,
here's
that's
the thing.
revisionist
If he
history.
wins this fight, then he's going to be has a shot.
He's going to get
in that
knocked
top
out by
five.
somebody else. That's all.
Maybe,
He was
but at least
looking
he
for
made a nice chunk of
heyday.
change.
Is what he was looking
He made.
for.
I don't think he went. I don't think he pushed the ref because he saw, damn, I wanted to get knocked out.
Everybody pushes a ref when they stop it. Everybody does.
Wilder
that, Claudio.
didn't. Wilder didn't against Fury. He
He
blamed
did so.
Breland.
No, he said, "What are you doing?" Because they threw in the towel. All right,
Well-
you always got to go back to that. But
Well,
I
again-
got something for you on that one, Claudio.
Well, if I was a referee, the only how you push me is on the stretcher.
I still think it was. Do you think it was an early stoppage?
No, I think it was a good stoppage. 30 punches, and the guy's getting his head banged in like that. Stop the fight. Stop the fight. You know, I'm a proponent. When a guy has no chance, he's unconscious on his back, or he's not throwing punches, 40 punches in a row, stop the fight. We don't need to see CTE setting in.
Were you
in that
impressed
fight.
with Joyce's performance?
He did what he had to do.
I know that.
He
I
did
asked
what he
you,
had to do.
was he-
There's
let me ask you,
something-
were you disappointed? Did you think he was going to do better?
I thought he was going to get well, he did better than I thought. I said an 8th round KO. He did a 6th round, so he did better than I
What
thought.
do you call him? The spin doctor,
yeah.
No,
right?
Claudio, I
Dr.
said
Spin
I
is
said
in.
it was going to be an 8th round stoppage. He stopped it 2 rounds earlier. Give him his
Okay,
respect,
but
guys.
again, I'll ask again. Were you impressed with how he looked? Were you
There's
saying,
some things he
man,
could've
he's
worked-
dominating this fight. He
There's
looks
some
great.
things he could have worked on. But Takum was in there to fight, and
Oh, yeah.
he
No
established
question.
the jab.
Very
and when he
happy
wanted
with
to get him
Takum's
out of there,
performance.
40 punches, and got him out of there.
Let me ask you a question. The trainers, not the fighters, which trainer you think said, man, we were happy with our guy?
You know what? There's no way that the corner of Joe Joyce at his age, with the big money that's out there,
It's still
man,
out
you
there.
got to be able to shine.
It's
Yeah,
still
that's
out
what I'm
there.
saying.
He didn't. There's nobody.
Listen,
there's nobody begging for him to get in there with.
Well, guess
the
what?
big
He's
three.
the #1 WBO champion and age
Mandatory.
mandatory. He's
WBO?
in line. WBO. He's in line to compete against Anthony Joshua.
Which we're going to get to after our break. We're going to talk about the moving of Joe Joyce. Right back with the boxing authorities. Now, the past couple shows, we've talked about Fernando Vargas because his two sons were fighting on a WBC card, and Luther had continuously said that he liked the way that Fernando Vargas was being moved in his career, which I did not. I think they threw him into the deep end too quick. Excuse me, Oscar De La Hoya, Shea Mosley twice, Vernon Forrest, Winky Wright. I mean, he was young, good-looking guy, big personality, big fan base. I think they could have stretched him out. I think they could have he could have learned more in the ring, gotten better technically, not just use his physical ability. And I think that they moved him a little too quick. My question this segment is, are they moving Joe Joyce too quick? They're talking about him. He's the #1 contender for the WBO championship, which means he's going to fight who? Your boy Anthony Joshua. You think they're moving him too quick?
Listen.
What would your game plan be for Joe Joyce right now?
I love the way they're moving Joe Joyce right now.
Then you must not like him as a person.
Daniel Dubois, Carlos Takam, now he's the #1 WBO. He's ready for AJ.
Wow,
I'd
okay.
like to see that fight after Wilder and AJ hopefully get unified, but I don't know if that's going to happen. There's a couple things in between that. But no, he's in his 30s, Claudio. You got to move him the way he needs to be moved.
Mid to upper.
And also Fernando Vargas, I love the way. Look at his resume. All
Oh,
the
yeah,
guys
but-
that he's fought.
but he lost.
Listen, you never know. Look at Paul Williams. I wish they would have moved
yeah.
him faster. And what happened?
Well-
You get the fights when they're available. I don't believe in this letting fights marinate. No.
Not marinate.
Yeah, well, that's what you're talking. Oh, stretch it out. That's
No,
marinate
I'm talking about
to
being
me.
smart.
Get the fight when it's available. Stop letting these fights marinate. There's been so many fights that have been lost because Claudio's thinking of letting these fights stretch out. No, get in there and
The
get
fights
these fights.
were lost, but I'll give you my example. Jerry Cooney said it numerous times, and Larry Holmes agreed with him. He said, if I'd have had access or the ability to fight Mike Weaver or Coetzee or some other guys, get 2 more fights under my belt, maybe the outcome would have been different. Larry Holmes said the same thing. Because you do learn a lot by fighting, not just by sparring, and you know that yourself. So, again, back to Vargas, I think if they would not, maybe stretched him out, it's not the right word, get him more experience, make him money, fight the right opponents, learn, then he would have still been even more of a draw. Joe Joyce is 35. That you got me. You're right. But he's not 35 physically, if you know what I'm saying. It isn't like he's been fighting wars.
Oh, you're going
and
smoking Jim on me.
No, has he been fighting wars? Is he worn out? He's a young 35. Holyfield was old when he was 30 because of all the wars. How would you move him?
Well, I got to disagree with you a little bit, Claudio, and I'm definitely
Okay.
disagreeing
What?
with Luther. Joe Joyce is a guy I would never manage because of the simple reason he could beat almost anybody,
Okay.
but almost anybody could beat him. So it's a hard,
undefeated,
it's a hard.
though, so what are
Listen,
you talking
if I
about?
get an opportunity for a big money fight,
Okay.
I would take it because this is a guy that could get whacked by almost anybody
Good
in
point.
a heavyweight division.
Listen, and that's false news. That's fake news, as your former president used to say, Jim. Nobody's whacked him. Daniel Dubois tried to get in there and whack him. He couldn't get past the jab. Listen, this guy has a great jab. He's a big guy. They call him the juggernaut for a reason. He can take a punch. He
They
can
couldn't
take
come
a
up with
punch
another
and
nickname.
give another one. He's the juggernaut. Did you see that helmet he went to the ring with? Oh, man, I loved it. Listen,
Smoking
if you're
Jim
a
and
fan
I-
of Marvel, you got to love this guy. Big, slow, but he's strong.
Let me ask you this. Smoking
tough.
Jim and I, there's a fighter, we won't mention his name, who is never going to be in the top 50 or 60 rankings, okay? He fought some fights, filled the house. He
Yes.
was a very
Yes.
popular fighter.
Yes.
And he won some knockouts,
would
right?
love to manage
Then he said, you know what, I'm going to elevate my opponent. Well, he elevated his opponent, and it was an ugly loss, a couple ugly losses. Jim and I both said we would have loved to have managed this guy because if we managed him, we could have got him to 15, 16-0, undefeated, popular. People knew he wasn't going to fight Anthony Joshua or Wilder or Fury or whoever, like cruiserweight. He was going to fight these guys, make a name for himself, be popular in his hometown. And Jim and I both said the exact same thing. He'll never have to buy a drink or a sandwich the rest of his life. But no, he went too quick, elevated, end of story. You got to know how to manage a fight, Luther, a fighter. Okay.
Listen.
Wilder, Fury, Tyson, those big dogs, Tyson, Mike Tyson, those guys, Evander. Okay, because those guys were unbelievably skilled. This guy is not unbelievably skilled. He's 35, but he's not 35. They have to manage him right. Here's my game plan for him, and let me ask you guys I know you're not going to agree. Let me ask you if you agree. I would not fight the number one mandatory. And there's talk that he's not going to, which I give his management team credit. They're talking about him fighting Dominic Chisora. I wouldn't fight Dominic Chisora just yet either.
Derek Chisora.
What did I say? Dominic, right, Derek, I'm sorry. Dominic Brazil. I'd fight him.
Yeah.
The guy that Wilder knocked out, okay? Yeah. He's a tall guy. What's Fury, Wilder, and Joshua have in common? They're all tall. You don't want to fight a guy like Takam who's shorter than you. Fight a big man. Fight Dominic Brazil in, what month is this? July. Fight him in October. Yeah. Maybe September. Yeah. Well, fight in October. Yeah. Then beat him. Then maybe fight Dominic Chisora. Then go after one of the big boys, okay? If they rush him too much, I think make some money, gain some experience, build your record, maybe knock those guys out, build a little bit of an aura around you instead of fighting AJ, going to the deep waters and getting clocked. Your thoughts on that?
First of all, I think AJ's very overrated.
Do you think he would be?
I think Joe Joyce has a chance against Anthony Joshua.
Okay.
Not saying he's going to be the favorite, but he would definitely have a chance because AJ doesn't move his head a lot. That jab is going to be right there, sticking it right in AJ's face. Now, AJ may be able to time it and do some things, but he's 35.
But he's not 35 physically.
Listen, okay, he's 35. It's called prize fighting for a reason.
Okay.
You're going to keep fighting these regular guys, these average guys, these C-level fighters when you have a chance to get your biggest payday and go for the belt? No, you go for the belt. It's prize fighting for a reason.
Let me interrupt you a second. We've been doing shows for years, different varieties, sports shows, boxing shows, even coaching. For me, and I thought I was good when I was 23 years old. I thought I was a good head coach. I think I'm much better now at age 56 as a head coach than I was then. I'd like to think that I'm better doing this than I was 20 or 18 years ago when you first brought me on. Do you think you're better today as a I think you are. You're always good. But I think you're better today than you were then.
I think I was always.
You were always good. But I think you're better.
Listen,
you're always good.
But Claudio, as far as boxing, you go up to the number one mandatory for what? To fight for the title.
Yeah.
Listen, that's the
problem. If he loses, he's done.
No, he's not done.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's not
He'll
done.
get clobbered and he's done.
Okay, let's go for instance, Sean Porter.
Heavyweights.
Just in general, you can lose and still be in the mix.
Had
Sean Porter had a belt, lost, and he's still in the mix. Anthony Joshua lost, got his belts back. Wilder lost, he has a chance to get back.
Right, rematches.
Andy Ruiz lost, and he's still in the mix.
If Joe Joyce loses, they're going to give him a rematch?
Dillian White lost.
Are they going to give Joe Joyce a rematch? If Joe Joyce loses, especially in a spectacular fashion,
the mix.
I don't think
he's
so.
a number one mandatory. Claudio?
Even Kalnaki lost. He's got a rematch.
You fight to fight the best. Forget all this
He'll be in the
fight.
same category as Chris Arreola, who I give credit to.
And he see, that's the difference. You think AJ's going to blow through him. That's not what's going to happen. That's going to be a competitive fight because he's big, he's strong, and Anthony Joshua has shown that he'll quit in a fight. Wow. He's shown that his chin is questionable. So it's going to be a tough fight.
Well, if Joe Joyce think he's moving slow now and he get in there with AJ, remember when we used to watch amateurs leather pants? He could end up being leather pants after that. Hey, listen,
come on.
Listen,
AJ
you got to be careful what you ask for because you just might get it.
There you go.
AJ will hit him with every punch in the book. I will fear for this guy. Well, I won't fear for it, but most people will fear for this guy's health in the future. You know, your noggin can't take that kind of
letting these fights marinate. If there's anything, quit letting these fights
business,
marinate.
Luther.
Yes, you fight the best. Prize fighting.
Joe Joyce.
You're proving my point. So where's he going to make the most money? Fighting an AJ or fighting a Dominic Brazil?
Fight 2 fights for a nice chunk of change,
and then he
fight
can
the
lose.
big fight.
And then AJ can move on. You're the number one mandatory.
He doesn't deserve to fight Anthony cashes Clay
you go with this
Johnson.
Not after
deserve.
13,
He doesn't
14
deserve
wins.
He's
it.
the number one
He
WBO
does not
mandatory.
deserve a
Stop.
title
ask you,
fight.
what-
Well,
Who would
if
you
he's
bet
the
on?
number one, well, how is he not deserving?
He's not.
What is that? Why doesn't he deserve
How many
it? If he's
fights
the
does
number
he
one,
have?
beat
How
two
many fights
names.
he have?
One name,
he
really.
beat who he needed to beat to get the number
Who
one
would you
spot.
bet on, Joshua and Joyce, right now?
It's 50-50.
Oh.
Andy Ruiz will wipe him
Yeah, I
up.
think,
No,
you
well,
know
we'll
what? I think
see.
you're right.
No, he
I
couldn't
think
get
you're
past.
right.
He couldn't get past that.
Would you
jab.
say Ruiz is the fourth best fighter right now?
Oh
heavyweight?
my goodness, no way.
1, 2, yeah.
Wilder, Fury, Wilder,
Ortiz,
Fury, Joshua.
Ortiz,
Ortiz.
will destroy Andy Ruiz
Well, I
right
actually
now.
got Ruiz.
Okay,
You know-
would Ortiz beat Joe Joyce?
I think Ortiz would beat him.
Okay.
Ortiz is
I'm
one of
with
the
you.
top guys.
I'm with you.
At 40.
At 40, you talk about
And,
age.
and it's a shame they've ducked him for years. The only one
Okay.
who would
'Cause-
fight him is Wilder. All these guys have ducked him.
I just
Dillian
think
White,
managing
Anthony
a fighter
Joshua.
is very important. You have to have a talent. There's a
Like
science
Claudio
to it.
said, you lose, you're done. He lost
In
to
the heavyweight
Wilder.
division,
and you are
Ortiz
not
makes
done.
a good point.
You are
Ortiz
not-
is done.
How is he done?
He's
Wilder
done.
has a
You
loss.
said
He showed
nobody
a
will
mix.
fight him. You said nobody will fight him. That
Ruiz
come out
has a
your
loss.
mouth.
What are you
just
talking
said that.
about? No, nobody was fighting Ortiz, period.
And he lost, and now he really ain't getting no
He
fights.
wasn't getting a fight. But you can, yeah, because of who he is.
Who's
People
the number one?
People
Is he
don't
the
want to fight a
number one
heavyweight.
contender? Is
People
he
don't
the
want to
number
fight
one
a
contender?
heavyweight southpaw like that
Huh?
with skills, Cuban
With power.
skill, power
But-
in both hands.
But you disagree with Claudio when Claudio said you lose, you're done.
He's not
Joe
done.
Joyce lose,
He's
he's
not
done.
done.
Ortiz lost,
He's not done. He's still in the mix.
Where?
He has a big fight coming.
Where's my number one ranking? I don't see him back.
He's
here.
still
gonna
in the
drop.
mix.
He's
Is
gonna
that
drop.
How is he gonna
invisible weight?
drop? He's
Is that
about to fight
invisible weight?
possibly Andy
Is he
Ruiz
gonna-
or Dillian White.
if he
Possibly.
loses, is he going to be able to bring the money up to the table? No.
I'm not. Listen,
That's what I'm saying.
talking about you go for the biggest fight when
Joshua,
you
Wilder,
can.
and Fury
You're wrong.
are all about the big money. Am I right,
Right,
or wrong?
that's right.
If us three could bring good money, they'll fight us.
That's
right?
it, that's it.
If Joe Joyce right now, his ticket, he's undefeated. He's a climber, right?
Right.
If he loses to Joshua, okay, he'll make a nice buck. Not a ton of money though.
Right.
Who's going to
He'll
really?
get- would that be his biggest payday?
Well, what the hell?
Okay.
Yeah, it's like saying I'm the tallest
All
one in my
right.
family.
All right.
Yeah,
you go
I
for your
mean-
big surprise fighting for a reason, Claudio.
But are we
No,
going,
no.
is it a one-hit
Look,
wonder, or are we going
listen,
to try to stretch his career
listen,
out?
you go for the when you get
And
the
be one of
number
the
one,
greats.
you go for the title. That's what
But
you
he ain't
do.
gonna win the title.
We don't know that. You
What
say
I
that.
would do-
you
what
were
I would
wrong
do
before
is-
when you said Joshua was going to beat Andy Ruiz.
Yes.
Okay, and you could be wrong
beat him
again.
the second time.
He did beat him.
He beat him the
Yeah,
second time.
because Andy Ruiz didn't even train.
And did you think Ruiz was going to beat him the first
I
time?
thought he had a chance because
You didn't even know who Andy Ruiz was.
No, I watched the last
You thought
fight.
he was a
I've
shortstop.
always told you guys that Anthony Joshua's chin is questionable. And now, not only is his chin questionable, his heart. He quit in that fight. I can't
right.
believe it.
I thought he kept getting up, but I know.
No,
Wilder
I know the referee said, "Do you want
never
to fight?"
gave no
and
excuse.
he said no.
He never gave no excuse. I give him credit for
Jim,
that.
real quick, who would you?
Cheating.
I said he should fight Dominic Brazil,
Oh,
then
yes.
Dominic
Dominic
Chisora.
Brazil is
I'm sorry,
done.
Derek
Derek
Chisora,
Chisora.
then fight Joshua. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think that really it's almost like I always tell the story of Sugar Ray Leonard, and they were asking, when you going to fight Tommy Hearns? He says, when the little kid in the playground playing basketball asked me about Tommy Hearns. Boxing people, these guys may be good
Exactly.
for boxing people, but the money ain't going to be there. Sugar Ray wasn't going to fight you until the money was there. Tommy
Exactly.
Hearns was always
And
great,
You
but
are,
he had
first
to,
of all,
he
you
had
are
to earn that
promoters.
payday.
You are
Well,
all
let me ask you this real
promoters.
quick. Let me ask you this real quick. And I again, I know you're tired of hearing it. Buster should not have fought Evander that quick. I mean, because
Right.
Evander's still fresh and still at the prime of his game. But let me ask you this:
Making
Is
excuses
Anthony
for
Joshua?
Buster.
Anthony Joshua right now is still relatively fresh, right? He had two
Right.
good fights that he got hit pretty good. Maybe wait. Maybe wait until this is a business. Wait until maybe Joshua gets in a few wars. Wilder and Fury are beating each other up. Then you can kind of come in and swoop the belt and the
He's
money when those guys are on the
35.
downside.
What are you talking? What do you
But
want to
he's,
wait till
he's
he's
a
40?
young 35.
He's 35. Get in
Maybe
there.
fight those guys when they're on
listen.
the way down. Does that make sense?
That makes
Does that make
sense to
sense?
me. Makes
It's
sense
pride.
to me.
No, yeah. Listen.
Would Trevor Berbick
listen,
have beaten Muhammad Ali in Muhammad's
fight,
prime? Hell
fight.
no.
It's there
He
for
fought him
you.
at the right
try
time.
to get Anthony Joshua right now. You're the number one.
Now's not
Do
the time.
Do everything
Now's
you
not
can to
the
get
time.
that fight. Stop letting
Wait.
fights marinate.
Wait,
That's
not
why we
marinate.
didn't get
It's being smart.
Manny Pacquiao and Floyd because people like
That was
Claudio and Jim
different.
wanted to wait and stretch it out. No, get the fight. We need it now.
Proper management is what it's all about. Well, we're going to take a quick break. Once Luther comes to his senses, we'll come back and we'll talk about some other segments, and including Oscar De La Hoya's comeback. We're right back with the Boxing Authorities. Okay, now recently Oscar De La Hoya has been showing some of his highlight videos, and I know he's not fighting. I mean, Luther and I one time when McGregor was using that thing and going like this, oh come on! And I know he's fighting air, but his feet look good, his hands look good, he looks in good shape. I'm excited about seeing Oscar De La Hoya fight again. Luther.
Yeah, I'm glad to see him come back. I mean, I was shocked at how good he looked. He looked fly on his feet. He moves his hands pretty good. I think he's a solid, he always had the skills, but look at him moving. I was really impressed with his footwork, his hand speed, but everybody looks good shadow boxing. I think me and you would look good shadow boxing.
Joe Joyce wouldn't look that quick hand-wise, but that's
But
another
he
story.
wouldn't
I'm
get hit.
wishing Joe Joyce the best.
But he looks in great shape. We'll see if he's serious, how far
he's
he's going to take
serious.
it. I would love to see him and Canelo have a little beef going on. I would love to see
I'm gonna
those
ask you
two get it
something,
on.
Luther.
I
That would
love
be,
to see it.
and I'm
A
going to ask
grudge
you, Jim.
match.
I mean, he looks great, no question. And professional wrestling, at least in my day in the 70s and 80s, it was always a grudge. That's what brought the house in, right? You mentioned something. I thought about Canelo a little bit. I thought more of Floyd, okay? I know we're jumping the gun a little bit. But do you think there's a possibility? Give me the percentages you think, Luther, of Oscar fighting Floyd, what percentage, and fighting Canelo?
I think Floyd is a real possibility. I mean, Floyd, you'll come back and he'll get 1 million pay-per-view buys. Him and Oscar, they could maybe do 2 million to rekindle what they have, possibly. But I think percentage-wise, I think that's about a 70% chance. 60, I'll say 60%. Canelo, probably about a 40 or 30%
Oh, that much?
chance.
Okay.
I do. I think it's a possibility.
Smoking Jim, percentage he fights Floyd and Canelo.
Well, let me just say this first, is the reason these legends cannot have the career that George Foreman had in the second career is they're not smart. They're coming back. Listen, Canelo is a talent. He was born to be a fighter, one of the greatest prize fighters ever. You know what I mean? This is a guy that had a great career. He knows what to do in the ring. He can throw every combination. But they don't want to start at the bottom and work their way up like
Right.
Foreman. And these guys like Oscar De La Hoya that never had a big punch. When you never had a big punch, you're not going to do anything against somebody like Canelo. Canelo would kill him. I think he would beat Floyd Mayweather again. He beat him the first time. I think he got a chance to beat him the second time. But I'm proud of him. Hey, listen, George Foreman did it the right way. He started
did.
at the bottom. He worked his way up. He built a fan base. Yeah. He got his confidence and everything. I
Fight
would like
management.
To see,
Fight management. Proper
Yes,
fight management for
proper
George
fight
Foreman.
management, yeah.
Yep, excellent points. I think, I'm a little surprised you think there's a 40% chance in fighting Canelo. I think the Floyd
30.
fight
30.
can happen. Floyd will fight anybody for $1, and I think Oscar would want to do that, but it would have to be real, not an exhibition. Because this fight, he's fighting against a guy named Vitor, I lost it here. What's his name? Vitor Belfort, who's a UFC legend. I don't follow UFC, that's why I don't know who he was. But apparently he's a good fighter. This is not a cakewalk for him. Okay, this is not an exhibition; it's for real. And Oscar's taking it serious, and I think he's going to do it the right way. And you make a good point. The guys with the big punches, they can fight when they're older. When you're younger, you lose that speed. But he looked good.
You look good.
And as long as he fights the right guys, now fighting Canelo, that might be a little bit of a
that
push.
probably won't happen.
Hell of a lot of money,
Listen,
though.
Listen, Floyd. Listen, Jim says about the power and all that, but Floyd never, since he became Money May, as you said it, he didn't have a big punch, and he's still out here, doing what he has to do, and that's going to be Oscar.
He never retired, really.
Pardon me?
But that's the difference. He never really retired.
I'm sure Oscar's been in the gym. I'm just glad, as long as he stays focused, stays out of his wife's closet, and really focuses on boxing. Because the last time we heard him on Triller, that was he had a little fun before he got on the mic. But I think if he takes it serious, we'll see. Yeah,
Focus.
maybe focus on boxing instead of other things. Yes, I think that's a good look for Oscar.
Yeah, I think that it would be. I think he's going to like the limelight again. He's going to like the adulation, the audience, the attention. He was making a nice buck.
Attention's not always
And
good
like
for
I said
Oscar,
on the
but-
last show, none of these guys are really true promoters, man. You got to have the heart for promotion, like the Don Kings and the
And not promote
Barons.
yourself, but promote your fighters.
Yeah, that's what you got to do, man.
But now he
They
lost
don't-
his main guy, though.
Huh?
He lost his main guy in
Yeah, there's
Canelo.
other guys, man. I mean, he's,
Oh, yeah, go after
he's
him,
a
yeah.
Mexican American, man. That's some of the greatest fighters ever. They're out
Listen,
there.
not only to lose Canelo, he lost all the PBC fighters. Most of them were under Golden Boy Promotions.
When Muhammad Ali retired, who did Don King? have?
We're
You gotta
talking
go-
about
you gotta go after
Oscar.
somebody else.
Can you stay focused
He
for a
went- he
little
went
bit?
to
We're
Sugar
talking
Ray
about
Leonard.
Oscar. Canelo's not the first fighter he lost. PBC, a lot of those fighters. He had, Deontay Wilder. He had Errol Spence. But because he wasn't paying attention to the business
Joe
side,
Joyce is
all
available.
those guys left. All those guys
He's
left.
going to be.
Now I guess his big fish is Ryan Garcia.
Yeah. Well, I
That's
would
what- that's
love
one
to
of the
see
reasons he's
Oscar.
coming back.
I love to see Oscar come back. I'm excited
too.
about it. I've always liked him, been a big fan. He recently said he's been through hell and back, so hopefully this will help him in his life.
I'd
And,
like to see Floyd punish him again.
I don't
dominate
think.
him.
Again?
I'd like
Yeah.
to see Floyd just
I think,
outbox
I
him.
think
Style on him.
Split decision.
Styled on him. Styled on him.
That would be a very interesting fight, and I think that may happen.
That's definitely going to happen.
All right, we're going to talk about another segment that we have. This one is we like to bring you guys different topics. As I said, we're a boxing variety show, but this one is the most overrated fighters of all time. And you know what? I'm going to start with you again, Luther. Who are the guys? One or two, three guys who you think are the most overrated? Not it doesn't mean that they're bad fighters, but just get maybe a little too much credit for their careers. Who comes to mind?
Listen, my favorite fighter who really got me hype about boxing was Mike Tyson. But he's also, and the two guys I'm going to name have something in common. They're both named Tyson. Mike Tyson is one of the most overrated fighters in the history of boxing. He was a big, bad bully, the baddest man on the planet. I was all with everybody. But then-
Until who beat him?
until he started losing Buster Douglas.
And
exposed
Razor
him.
Ruddock gave him
Razor
trouble.
Ruddock, but he didn't beat him.
No.
He beat Razor Ruddock. But, Buster Douglas got up there, punished him. Evander Holyfield beat him so bad, Mike Tyson started biting pieces of his ear off. Lennox Lewis destroyed him.
And the
then
great, what's that guy's name? Brian McRae or something like that?
we saw a lot of guys punish him towards the end of his career. He had a great 3 years. Nobody can question that. But that was a small prime. I love that era of those three, but I have to be honest. He's one of the most overrated boxers of all time. And Tyson Fury, another Tyson. It must be something with that name. You get that name, you're overrated. Tyson Fury is another very overrated
And your
fighter.
nephew named Tyson?
Oh.
No, he's not. There's nobody in my family named Tyson. Tyson Fury, another guy. His resume is absolutely disgusting. He does have two solid fighters on there, but they both come with questions. He tested positive after he beat Vladimir Klitschko. There's questions about how he beat Deontay Wilder. He's never defended a title. Very overrated. Yes, he can move for a big guy. His chin is questionable. A guy from around here, U.S. Cunningham, laid him out. A cruiserweight laid him out. Very, very questionable chin. A lot of dirty tactics. He's gone into the ring and had to change glove, re-glove in the ring because he went in there with an illegal glove. Very
Lutherpedia.
overrated.
Lutherpedia.
Mike Tyson and Tyson Fury, the two most overrated boxers in history, in my opinion.
Smoking Jim.
Well, when a guy has a nickname Mandingo, the Black Hercules, the Jawbreaker, the Fighting Marine, hey, listen, Ken Norton, there's no way I would ever vote Kenny Norton into the Hall of Fame.
Oh.
This is a guy who got knocked out by Jose Luis Garcia when he was up and coming. Built dude, great actor, you know what I mean? He would always do well against the Muhammad Ali's, the Jimmy
Stepped up.
Youngs, the Larry Holmes, but there's so many guys that could have knocked him out. He got knocked out by Jerry Cooney in one. A 36-year-old Ernie Shavers knocked him out in one. George Foreman carried him for two, knocked him out in two. He got knocked out by Garcia. Only reason he didn't get knocked out by Joe Frazier is because he befriended Joe Frazier, and they never fought. Joe Frazier
That was
would
the
have knocked
golden
him.
era.
Joe Frazier would have knocked him out.
Golden era.
Ken Norton is a guy who was, just an average journeyman type fighter until he started seeing the site, getting hypnotized before fights, and they
come
helped.
on,
They
man.
helped. They helped him, man. But yeah, one year he got in Los Angeles. He got Father of the Year award, and that was when his son wasn't speaking to him. I don't think his son even went to his funeral. So they just handing out awards.
Oh, shit, that's terrible.
But hey, that's fine. Kenny Norton, I loved him, but he wouldn't be in my Hall of Fame.
Well, I have three, and two of them I respect, and one of them was two of them were my favorite fighters. Joe Frazier. Smoking Joe Frazier. He's known for his obviously his first big win against Muhammad Ali. I get in 71. But then he lost to Muhammad twice, and he lost to Foreman twice. Name some big wins from Joe Frazier. As Jim says, I'll hang up and listen. You can't. All right. Ken Norton was one of my favorites of all time. Loved Ken Norton, and he was tough, as was Joe Frazier. And I love both these guys. Both extremely talented, showed a lot of heart. When I say a professional fighter, I mean they came to fight. They were in shape, and they were business. They meant business. They never took a step back. I mean, they cared about the sport, and they wanted to win. So I'm not insulting him. Ken Norton is known for what? He lost to Muhammad Ali. People said he won that fight. Hell of a fight against Larry Holmes. But who won? Holmes. Jerry Cooney, 54 seconds, he blew him out. Who else did he lose to? I forgot about Shavers.
Yeah, Ernie Shavers.
I mean, he's known for his losses and his knockout.
You guys are going to the golden era, the heavyweight division,
But to put him in the Hall of Fame, to put him in one of the
Wow.
best, I know it was. And they'd be champions today.
They'd be champions in a whole lot of different
yes,
eras.
No question. No question. I just think that, like when they had a documentary, like the Kings of Boxing,
Right,
they had
right.
Muhammad, obviously deserved. Foreman in. Holmes, okay. But Frazier and Norton, I think they're more known for their losses against those guys.
They lost to Hall of Famers.
Right.
Some
But they
of the
lost.
best ever.
But they
Some
lost.
of the best ever.
If the Pirates lost to the Dodgers today, you going to give them
Come on,
credit?
it's a whole different ball game.
Am I right?
Listen.
And I give Joe and Ken were champions. I get it, but to put them in the iconic level, that I have a little problem with. And the third guy, who I never understood, Jim, I love you to death, but I always thought you overrated this guy a lot, and that was Colin McGregor. He's known for his losses. He lost to Khabib. He
Very
lost to
overrated.
some other guys in UFC. He just lost. How you pronounce the guy's name? Poirier.
Yeah.
And of course, he lost to Floyd.
And he's still down there on the ground with a broke leg, still talking.
I think he's overrated, and he's a draw. Not saying he isn't, but are people paying all that money to see him win or to see him get crushed? Either way, they're paying big money to watch him. So he's a great marker. He's throwing some chairs
Very
and buses,
underrated. Very overrated.
stuff like that. But I don't see how I think he's overrated. I know you
When
love
the last
him.
time he won a match?
I'm telling you.
In anything.
I love him, but it's not unusual for UFC fighters to have a lot of losses in their careers. A different type of
He's
combat
winless in
sport.
boxing too. He hasn't won a match in boxing. He's winless in boxing in the sport. And then he lost about 6 in a row in MMA, 6 or 7 in a row.
Jim's not happy.
He's not in his prime anymore, but in his prime, he's the one that put the UFC on the map. So you
Because
gotta
of
give him
because of the things he
because
did outside of the
he
ring.
talked,
Yeah,
he talked a
Wilder
lot.
Wilder wasn't
We're
putting
not
under the
talking
map.
about Wilder.
No,
We're talking about
'cause
Conor McGregor's
he don't know how to. He
overrated.
don't know how to promote a fight, man. You
Yeah,
can't.
Conor
you
McGregor
can't-
don't know how to win
You
a
can't
fight.
sit there like a mute.
Right.
You can't sit there like a mute.
SBS. We know more about his injuries and his brutal knockouts than
And
him
throwing
doing
buses.
something. Throwing cheers at
and
buses.
and all that.
Laying on the ground with a broke leg, talking about somebody's wife is in his DMs.
he can drink
can't
with
even
any
stand up.
Irishman.
Yes, he can. Now,
And that's saying something. Give him credit for what he can
hey,
do.
Hey, yeah, I'll give him credit for that, but not in the ring. Very overrated. But as far as the bar scene,
He's number one.
He's number one.
How would
there.
Floyd have done in the cage with him?
Ooh.
Well,
Two different.
we know what he did in the boxing ring. He
How would
got
he have done in the
TKO'd.
cage? I'm wondering what
Well,
he
when
did
they were in the
cage.
ring together, Conor got TKO'd.
I'm saying in the
That's
cage.
all we know. We're
I'm
not
saying in the cage.
They never
Because he
they
said he
never
wanted
wrestled
him
in
in
the
the
cage.
because Floyd said he wanted him in the
The
cage.
referee
and then
saved
backed
his
out.
life. Let's say that. The referee
had
saved
him
Conor's
winning.
life.
Jim, real
against
quick,
him.
I know Luther doesn't, but do you agree with Ken Norton? Do you think Joe Frazier
Oh
was
yeah,
overrated?
Ken Norton. Joe Frazier wasn't because Joe Frazier was a
Frazier's a legend.
1964 Olympic
Yes.
gold medal.
Philly,
I'm talking about the
Philly
pros.
pride. Come on,
I'm talking about
Claudio.
the pros.
Well,
Besides Muhammad,
he
who did he
knocked
beat?
out Jimmy Ellis. He knocked
Okay.
out Jerry Corey. He knocked out Buster Mathis, who was an outstanding fighter. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He beat Oscar, he beat the,
Bonavena.
yeah, he beat Bonavina. He beat the kid, tough kid from Canada too.
George Chuvalo.
George Chuvalo.
But do you think, again, great fighter, but do you think that they elevate him a little too much?
No, I don't think they elevate
he's
him
right
high enough.
there.
Okay.
But Ken Norton, I'm agreeing with you on
right.
Ken Norton. Yeah.
Well, we're going to go to our final segment of
both
the
would've
Joe
Tight
Frazier and
show.
Adam
Well,
Frazier.
one thing we do
I
know
like
for sure,
them.
they both would have beat Mike Tyson and Tyson Fury.
No,
That's
Tyson
one
would
thing
kill
I'll
both
say.
of them. Same night.
They both beat
We're
both
going to go
of
to our
the
mailbag,
Tysons.
our popular segment, the mailbag. You can mail us at, what is it, the boxing, no, just the mailbag, boxing mailbag. There it is, boxing mailbag at yahoo.com. All right. All three of us, Mike from Pittsburgh, top 3 boxers from Pittsburgh history. Jim, I'll start with you.
Well, one is a very underrated contender back when there was only one belt, Andy Kidd DePaul.
Andy
But
Kidd
you,
DePaul.
you got the
Great
Fritzy
guy.
Zivic.
Yeah.
You got Charlie Burley.
Yes.
And you got to go with Billy Conn in
You
there.
named about 8 fighters. We said 3.
Well, I mean, how can you name one without the other?
Billy Conn. Luth?
Well, I don't want to say the same. Jim named all of them. I don't want to say that. But Charlie Burley's one. I'm going to say Paul Spatter 4.
Yeah.
You know, we got to put him in the mix. Yeah. You know, we all saw what he did, dominated Floyd Mayweather in the sparring. I wish he would have done that in the ring, but Floyd didn't fight him.
You showing your age.
Hey, listen, Paul, listen, Charlie Burley, I'm going back. Paul Spatter 4. I'd say those are my 2 favorite.
You know,
from
at
this
one
era.
time there was only 5 belts in
And we
professional boxing, and Pittsburgh held all 5.
I know. I didn't see all of them.
I'm
like
just
you
saying.
did.
I-
You saw
yeah,
them
you
all.
show your age,
You saw
That
them all
doesn't
live,
get-
Jim.
Read a book.
You saw them all live, Jim.
That doesn't get enough publicity, what
Right.
you just said there. That's a
Charlie
great point.
Burley's a legend, and he was
Yeah.
ducked by a lot of people.
Yeah, he beat Archie Moore.
I'm gonna go with 4. Burley, you have to include him. Fritzy Zivic,
Yes.
you got to put him. Billy Conn. I mean, when you think of Pittsburgh boxers, you think of Billy Conn.
Yeah.
And I'm going to include Michael Moore. Again, I repeat, I've said this before. For
what?
Smoking Jim said it. If he didn't go
Yeah.
to the heavyweight division and stayed at light heavy, he would have been the Joe Louis of like he dominated, and he did win the heavyweight title.
Give me the 2 of film.
But I'm gonna include Michael
I
Moore.
like
in
Michael
there.
Moore. Yeah,
I mean,
he
I love
doesn't
Michael.
get enough
I love
respect.
Mike.
You know, he hit Evander so hard he put a hole in his heart. I mean, how many guys can say that? I mean, he's a legend, man.
Evander wasn't in that Charleroi.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go with this.
Okay, this is for Luther. Richard from Philly. Would you let Cornerman stop the fight? Have that much power?
I like referees stopping the fight. You know, I prefer that. You know, I hate when the guys are throwing the towel in. The referee's in there; he can see what's going on. Let him stop the fight.
All right.
I prefer that.
This is for all 3 of us. A last question, and I did see it. Did you guys see the Panama Lewis documentary on HBO a few years ago?
No,
I missed that.
Well, they basically had where
Cheating in boxing.
He did some things with the gloves, and there was an up and coming fighter.
Was
I forget-
Fury in that? Oh.
No, there we go. But this was proven. He one of his fighters
Tyson
fought
Fury's proven,
a
too.
climbing popular fighter and just beat the hell out of him. He busted his face
Yeah, that
up,
was
and then the guy's
criminal.
kind of career and life went down the tubes after that. And even the guy who won the fight when they caught him, because the guy's father, and I want to say Collins was his last name. I could be wrong. Irish Terry Collins, something like that.
Yeah,
when they
I
were
remember that.
congratulating,
He was
he
out
went
of
like
it.
this, and he grabbed his hands, and he told the ref, "Come here."
Yeah.
And then that's when
He was an exciting fighter.
all
I
hell
had
broke
Tennessee. I
loose, and
liked
they
him.
found out
And
that
I
Panama
remember
Lewis kind of put some doctored his gloves, and that was the end of a great trainer and of a popular fighter with Irish Collins. I believe that was his name.
I remember him.
Anyway, okay, well, as always, we hope you enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed presenting it to you. Make sure you tune into the Boxing Authorities again. For Luther Dupree, Smoking Jim Frazier, I'm Claudio Relsano. We'll check you out next time.